America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started this evening, we do need to take a quick executive session to discuss contract negotiations. Should be more than 5 or 10 minutes. Entertain a motion.
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Hello.
Okay. Entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Chris.
Opposed? Carried. All right, let's get started this evening with their approval of the prior town board meeting minutes. We have a few sets, and Mary was so graciously to provide all these minutes for us to get caught up. First set is our August 7th board meeting, which we did not have last meeting to approve. Do you have any comments, questions, corrections? Motion?
Move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Take your pick.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, second set is the September 5th board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And our latest meeting, which was our budget workshop on 9/25, September 25th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Look at that, all caught up
Sigh of
and
relief.
taken care of. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to written communications. Let's start with a quick report.
I don't have anything
You have
else.
nothing?
No.
Wow, all right.
Nothing. But I do have this.
All right.
Okay. Town clerk's report for September 2007. Planning board for application, $100. Dog licenses, $37.50. Building permits, $750. Certificates of occupancy, $250. Vital statistics for death and marriage certificates, $67.50. St. Luke's Church donation, $100. Decals, which is fishing and hunting, $19.51. Check for the general fund, $1,324.51. Trust and agency for an escrow, $1,167.29. Total for trust and agency, $1,167.29. Paid to New York State DEC for hunting and fishing, $334.49. Paid to New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets for dog licenses, $15. Paid to New York State Department of Health for a marriage license, $22.50. So the total for September, $2,863.79.
Okay. Motion to approve the clerk's report.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mary. Now we have nothing. Right. Correspondence for the web committee. Anybody have any comments, questions, complaints? The web committee.
The same.
Still
What
the
was the
same?
question? I'm sorry. For the web
Comments for
committee.
the web committee.
Oh, the web committee. Where's the web committee? Oh, there's Evan, yes. I have all complaints. I think it has to be restructured, made whole. I just find that I don't get the information that I used to get. I don't even watch the town board meetings on it like I used to. Things are late. It's very difficult to get into it, and my neighbors and other people just in the community think the same thing. And I take courses on my little iPad and things like that, you know. So I have a large complaint about it, that it's just not working.
Okay, I mean, the site really hasn't changed since, I don't know, it's been 5 years or 6 years or something. I know I have been late on getting the meetings up, but if there's anything beyond that, I don't think it's anything new. We could certainly look to make changes, but I need some specifics. And I will be trying to get the videos up more promptly.
And also, I just want to remind you, I did give you a disc from one of the courses that I took, and it had to do with the topography of land. And I just wanted to see, it was 2 years ago, and I asked if it worked on any of your computers, and you never got back to me. So if you can find the disc,
All right, that's the one
just
that
leave it at Mary's desk.
I have it at the moment.
Oh, you have it at the moment?
Yep, well, I was double checking to see that
Well, who
the
knows?
data was the same that I had, and it is.
Okay. Thank you.
So, was it last month you mentioned, Evan, that we're going to have new software because what we have currently is not supported?
What did you get?
So there's minor updates to it. It's not a major update like we went through, was that this spring or last fall? I forget now.
Right.
So it's just a minor patches on top of it. It won't change the look and feel of the
Oh,
site.
okay. So if there are things, like I know I happen to notice, I think it's the ethics committee still doesn't have the correct membership, and I think it's the Board of Assessment Review. So we should just send you an email.
Yeah, send me an email
Or
and
give
I
you
can
that stuff
update
in writing, okay. And I know I need to get with you too about historical photos.
Right.
So that I wanted to look at those before I told you that that was good to
Yeah,
go.
we
So-
did get that box folder
Right,
zip download, and
right.
I saved a copy of it so that
Yeah.
it won't go away if
Right,
something
right,
happens on the
because I
internet.
didn't know too if, I thought we were doing a little bit more of an upgrade than what you're expressing now, so thought maybe we should wait to do that, but now it sounds
No,
like we don't need
it's
to.
pretty routine, just
Okay,
regular
okay.
maintenance, yes.
Evan, just a quick question. Where's the server and how big is the capacity and, you know?
It's hosted through GTEL, and I think it's up in the Albany area. I don't know the capacity, but they give us enough that we don't run into
Okay.
limits.
Okay. All right, well, we'll have to, I mean, I don't know, how late have we been posting that at the meetings? I mean, a month,
There's been a few times where I've been
a couple months?
like a month and a bit, and it's not a good excuse for working kind of crazy. And
All right, we'll,
I'm planning to put a reminder on my calendar, so
we'll
I should be able to get it up in
We'll
the
certainly have
first
to
week.
try to address that, because we'll try to get those up as fast as we can. I mean, that's something that we would like to get up with. As far as, a redesign of the website, that's a whole different story. I mean, you're talking money, time, resources. I don't know if we're willing to tackle that at this point. We haven't discussed that. We didn't put anything in the budget for that. But that's something we could also look at in the future to see if it's something, we could do, but certainly
I
not
don't think it's a
immediate.
question of money. I know some people who would do it for the community for free, but I think we just should get it so I can look on the web and find out what's going on in the community. Okay? I used to watch the town board meetings all the time. I don't. And I used to get information. Now I just call people.
Well, we'd much rather have you come join us anyway. It's better.
Thank you very much. Very sweet of you.
All right, well, we will take a look at this, see what we can do, and make sure that gets posted quicker for sure. All right, let's move on to the reports, Bob.
Yeah, just a couple of things. The silt fence, the ditch that was left after they took the silt fence out was talked about last month. They did come down and did some work on it. I happened to be going by when they were there, and I stopped in. They told me they were only going to do the front part, they weren't going to do anything in the back. I said, well, you better do the whole thing or you're going to be back down here again. I mentioned it to Ray, called him on the phone, and he called DEC. Well, they did stay late, and it appears that they got it all done. Okay, and I'm not sure if it was your call or was he called his boss or whatever, but
I'm not sure either, but
I
at
guess
least they
they-
got done.
I guess they found him and caught him, so they got it done. So that's that one. The other one that I want to mention, I was talking with Jimmy today about, we've talked in the past about a walkway going into the academy, the community house, and especially during bad weather and all, the stuff gets tracked in. And it would be, we talked about wanting to do that, either concrete sidewalk or blacktop or some other needed. And Jimmy did mention that this would be a good time to do it because they're kind of just in between. They got most of their summer work done and the winter work hasn't quite started yet. They're just preparing things, doing some work on the trucks. So we'll bring that up on the new business if you want. I think it'd be a good idea. And yes, it could wait till next year. It's been that way for several years, but every year we wait, it allows more stuff to get tracked in and of course get less stuff. So it'd be good if we could get it done now when they've got some time.
Okay. All right.
That's all.
I'll follow up discussion on that, like I said, we get the new business. Okay. Evan, you have anything else to add on that?
No.
Website, Chris?
Just an update on our code enforcement officer, the assets that we have. I've got his laptop, I've got his office suite, and accounting software. I did set him up with an email, I think Ray, you probably already knew. I set him up with an email address through GTEL as well. And his printer / copier scanner should be arriving with it sometime this week. So I'm going to get together with Sam and go over his laptop with him, his email address, everything, so that hopefully maybe this week or within the week, so that he can get started with everything that's now set up for him.
Good, excellent. He's been anxiously waiting. He's really looking forward to getting everything computerized and getting everything on the computer, so that's great. Thank you for jumping on that so quickly and getting that taken care of. And I did see all the copies that you sent me on all that stuff. I know it took some time to go through all that stuff and get it figured out, and I appreciate all your work on that. Okay. Dawn?
One quick thing is that the Election Day dinner, the Village Green Committee is going to meet this Wednesday at 7 o'clock over in the community house to start to do some more planning for that. We're always happy to have new people join us. There's definitely enough work to go around. And I don't have with me, I'm not quite sure that we've even set it yet because we only have one meeting, what the price would be. I know we're going back to the ham dinner rather than the roast beef that we had last year. And we'll have Mary Puccio's scalloped potatoes again, which is always a good thing.
Nice.
The other is, I did some investigation. We can kind of defer this to until we get to maybe go with the DEC update about the Iroquois community grants that I think we can apply for to do cover some of the costs of the field and the screening and the trails. And the grants, it's competitive. Their awards are between $2,500 and $10,000. The due date for this round is November 1st, and there's notice of the awards, so it's December 15th. The primary focus area is environmental, and it talks about preservation, enhancement, education, and passive recreation. And it's a 5-page grant, a cover letter in 5 pages, a project description, a little bit about the town, what our expected outcomes are, other and community involvement. We need to schedule activities and timeline. If there's other fundraising or other funds that are going to be used to fund the project, and then we would need a detailed budget which would have copies of cost estimates and vendor estimates on there. So if, depending upon what information we get from Scenic Hudson, we can move forward with this. And then you also just gave me one for Parks and Recreation, which looks like it will be a good fit too, and that's a December 8th deadline. So once we get information from Scenic Hudson, I don't know that we can do the whole thing, but maybe we can choose some part of the area or a specific project within the greater project and get that costed out and submit that by November 1st. So hopefully we'll get good information from DEC or Scenic Hudson and we can cost it out. The other is just more of a community announcement, is that the Germantown Cupboard, which is the food pantry that also serves residents of Clermont, is in high need of volunteers. There's lots of different activities. If people want to help them do the pickups, the cupboard is very fortunate that both the Hannaford and Red Hook and the one at Livingston donate a lot of stuff to 'em. I know bread, vegetables, lots of good stuff. But you can go over and just sort and clean up too. So if you have some time and if you're interested, you can contact Arlene Lipschutz at 537-6136.
Excellent. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, old business, DEC update. Here again, I hate to keep coming to the meetings with no answer for anybody, but I called. The last call I made to DEC was Thursday, September 28th, last Thursday. I left Michael Mason a message again saying, I'd really like to have this project wrapped up. We sent you estimates from our highway department 2 months ago in regards to fixing the driveway. I says if you have other quotes that are cheaper, or if you have another option that would save money and it would solve our problem, I'd be glad to hear it, but we'd like to seriously get this wrapped up and finished up before the end of the year, as soon as possible. And he has not called me back since last Thursday. I didn't call him again today because, to tell you the truth, it slipped my mind. But I have been trying to get him to give us an answer on what we're doing with this, because that's really the last piece of the puzzle as far as wrapping up what we need to finish this project up, now that Malloy has fixed the ditching around to the sides. So I have no answer as of yet. Hopefully by next month we'll have an answer and have this underway. I mean, if they give us the go-ahead on this, it could be done in one day. It's not a big project. So, I'll update everybody next meeting with hopefully the answer to this. On that note, we're talking about DC. I've had some concerns. I've had some conversations with the Southern Columbia League as far as the use for the field that we're talking about putting in the softball field. There's been a declining population and enrollment in softball, and baseball itself. The kids, the enrollment has went down. So there's not the need that there was when we started this project for the field. So I asked them, I need a straight answer. I said, if we put a field in it, is there going to be use? I mean, are you going to use this field? And they said, well, we may use it occasionally, but it's not in demand like it was before. We just went from 2 teams to 1 team. We just don't have the kids. So what I've been wrestling with, and I brought this to the board's attention, do we want to, at this point, continue to put the softball field in, or do we want to put the brakes on, put grass this field and just leave it as a mowed field, allow kids to play soccer on it and use it for lacrosse, just an open field recreation, instead of going through with the softball, spreading the clay, putting the backstops in, the whole 9 yards. So at this point, my recommendation would be to maybe put the brakes on, plant the grass, let the grass grow in, see if anything changes, but I don't really necessarily want to put a field in that's not going to get used. So, and there still is a lot of demand, and they even said this, that they would be more interested in the soccer fields or open fields, for soccer use, because that is still very popular. More and more kids are playing soccer, and I think at this point we should maybe consider doing that. But again, I don't want to proceed with the softball field at this time unless the board feels differently, and let's just leave it as open field. The clay we have over there we can use on our existing field, and it won't go to waste obviously, so we will have that for use. But
I'm in agreement with that.
I think at this point, before we go any further, and there's no other use, I think we should just put the brakes on. This may make some people happy, I don't know, maybe still make not happy, but
Make me
I
happy.
think at this point, that's what we should do, and I think we'll proceed with just holding off. Scenic Hudson, another question. Not really motion, I don't think we need a motion on that. We're just gonna hold off.
We need to confirm that we haven't gotten the full confirmation from the softball league. We suspect that it's the same as the Little League, but, until we get confirmation on that, we could, if there turns out to be a need for a softball field, we'll put it in. If there isn't, we won't. And at this point, we're just, putting it in suspension. Right?
Yeah. So I just want to update everybody on St. Hudson. Another one that I've been, last couple of months, we already spoke about the meeting we had almost 2 months ago with Scenic Hudson. I did email Carly Kernan from Scenic Hudson last Thursday, and I said, just want to check in with you, I haven't had anything, I haven't received anything from you, I haven't heard any word. She did email me back immediately, said she's been working on her assistant's been working on a comprehensive plan, and they went over all the items and discussed. She said she reviewed the final copy on Monday and gave some additional comments. She says, I do imagine you should see something, she should be sending something over by no later than next week, which is this week. So it should be coming this week. Unfortunately, I don't have it for this meeting, but it is in the works, and the final copy is being produced for this week. So that should give us something to obviously look at and get started with, and give us a starting point. So that's just give everybody an idea of where we are with that. Traffic sign request, just to update everybody, last month, we did it 2 months ago? Last month. We had a request for a traffic sign to be looked at the end of Nevis Road. I did put the Nevis Road Lasher, it's currently a yield sign on a T intersection. I did ask the highway department to take a look at it. They said there should be no problem with changing that to a stop sign. I did look at it again myself. I've often wondered why it was a yield sign there. Shouldn't really be a stop sign at a T intersection like that. But they agreed that they said that they will take a look at it and they will change that sign over. The county highway department will do that. I did also mention the speed limit reduction request to at least be looked at. They did tell me that's a totally different animal. It would be very difficult since it's a posted 40-mile-an-hour zone now. Very difficult to reduce it down. But he said he'd take a look at it and get back and let me know. But that's a much different process. Much harder to prove that it needs to be reduced. I think maybe speed monitoring might be a better solution on that request. But I did want to just report that I did take a look at it and put the request in. So hopefully it's going to be changed shortly.
And the speed request on the same road? On
The same Nevis Road. Even though that's a town road, it still has to go through the county department for investigation on speed limits. We ran into that with Collinswood, I think was the one.
Yeah.
Which took quite a while, if I remember. Okay, new business. First thing I want to do, before I wrote it in here, I didn't have it on the printed agenda. We do have a change in our zoning board secretary. Tammy Conley is no longer, Conley. Tammy Conley is no longer going to be able to take care of the zoning board secretary position. So she has resigned. I want to certainly thank her for her several years of dedicated work with the board. I know her personal schedule is very hectic and work schedule is very hectic. It's just very difficult for her to make these meetings. So I certainly appreciate everything she's done and thank her for that. But we are going to appoint Desiree Weber.
It mentioned not only her service to the board, but also to the Village Green Committee and others.
Other involvement with the town,
Yeah,
absolutely.
she's been
Absolutely.
involved. So.
Absolutely. She's been the head of the Village Green Committee for how many years now? Many, many years. And she's done a tremendous amount of work for the town, continues to do a lot of work for the town, but she's just, this is one thing I think just need to lighten the plate a little bit. So certainly appreciate that, recognize that, and again, we're going to appoint, I'd like to motion to appoint Desiree Weber to take over planning board secretary, zoning board secretary, which she's already doing the planning board as well. But I'd like her to be appointed to take over from here and finish out the year.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have local law. We had the public hearing earlier this evening before the meeting on local law number 1, to increase the limits for the alternative veterans exemptions and adding the Gold Star Parent Clause pursuant to New York State real property law. We had no comment, public hearing, other than do it, I believe, or go ahead. And I'd just like to offer this for adoption. I'm going to need a roll call vote on this on local law. I want to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a roll call vote. Please.
Okay, Councilman Gildersleeve,
Aye.
Councilman Hempel,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bronson,
Aye.
Councilman Desmond,
I'm going to recuse myself because I am a veteran and will benefit from it.
and Supervisor Stats.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's passed.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I just have a question. How many veterans, what's the number in Clermont? Just in Gold Star, just to know, this is an amazing and important
I
issue.
don't have the number in Clermont. I do have in another email, which I don't have with me, the increase that would affect the taxpayers, which is about
That's not,
$2 or
yeah,
something.
not the money part, but how many veterans do we have in our town?
That might be in the exemption report, which was added to the website 2 weeks ago or something.
Right.
Okay, so we can
Within the
look it up.
last 2
years.
Yeah, I think it would be good to know,
I forget if
who
it
has
says
served.
the number or if it says the dollar amount, but I feel like it's the number as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
And
can
then-
find that out easy enough. We
Yeah,
just,
I
I
think,
just don't have that.
it's
with
just,
me.
we should be proud of people who serve and put their lives on line for our country. What about Gold Star parents? Who are they? Do we have any in our town?
I don't know.
Again,
I
don't
just
have
know
the
many
statistics.
veterans, and I live with 2 of them. My husband was
Yeah.
a veteran.
But
you know.
young ones,
The
they're also
county
new ward.
veterans could probably tell us.
I'm sure they
The
could.
county, whatever.
I'm sure they would have the statistics. We could actually get that information. But yeah,
I think
it's,
it's
again, the county did this, and I totally agree with it, and that's why, I brought it to town, and I think it's great.
yeah, no, it's a great, absolutely, not, the question is not, that's not great. I think it's what we ought to do, but how many, it'd be nice to know how many we
How many's
have,
affected
because we
by
should
it.
really applaud these men and women.
Sure, I'll tell you that.
Probably Cheryl would have the breakdown on that, absolutely. Yeah. We can find that out, absolutely. Well, we got one. All right. Tentative budget, 2018 tentative budget. I gave everybody a copy this evening of the tentative budget we produced from our workshop on the 25th. Just a couple changes that I made. One, I totally forgot, and it was not in Jimmy's budget either, but it should have been his budget, but he didn't put a note in there. There's been a request from the highway department to upgrade their mower, their additional lawn mower. They have 2 lawn mowers now. The second mower they're using is a smaller, lighter weight, not meant for as much mowing as we're doing with it. He's having some minor issues with it, but without saying any more on that, he would like us to consider next year purchasing a new mower. So what he did, I asked him, I said, well, get us some ideas. So he got a quote on a new mower and taking off the trade-in on his with a bigger deck. He wanted a 6-foot deck on it. So with a bigger mower with a bigger deck, all said and done, about $8,600 difference. So what I did, since we didn't do it in the tentative budget meeting, or excuse me, the budget workshop, I went ahead and added it to this tentative budget under, I think it's your 6th page. If you flip this, they're not numbered, but your 6th page, under Parks and Recreation, Cultural and Recreation, I put it under the expenditure 7110.41, which is what we use for the parks. I added that from 5,000 up to 13,500. Let's see the number went up, 13,500. That includes the $8,500 he's requesting. Now again, this doesn't mean we're going to buy it. It just means I'm putting it in the budget. We can have that discussion and we can consider buying it. It will be in the budget. And if you flip to the 11th page, which is the revenue page, general revenues under Park Reserve, I upped that from 5,000 to 13,500, which is offsetting the revenue by taking it out of our Parks and Recreation line, which is the money we have under donations in parks. So it's in there as an expense and it's in there as revenue. So if we go ahead and consider to do this next year, we have it in the budget. If we don't, it'll just stay in reserves. Other than that, that's the only change I made to the tentative budget we agreed upon. Just to update the taxpayers quickly. 2018 budget has 0 tax increase again. We basically went through the entire budget like we do every year. We only have increases in salary for the highway department, which is 1.5%, which is what we kind of agreed upon several years ago, that we would just go with a solid 1.5% each year for consideration. Not saying that they have to do it, but that's what we've kind of agreed upon, rather than 3 or 4% one year and 0 next year. So But we accrued 1.5% for the highway department, that's just highway superintendent and the 2 employees. And the only other increase that was made on the budget was the tax collector, which put in for a minor increase from $4,400 a year to $4,500 a year, so $100 a year increase. And she hasn't had an increase in a couple of years, and it is a minor increase, so we decided to go ahead with that increase. So that is in the tentative budget. Total spending between general and highway, total appropriations comes out to $644,144. Our revenues went up a little bit, total $476,747 revenues. Depending, the highway, the fund balances, we're taking out a total of, between highway and general, $49,317 what we're proposing. The amount raised by taxpayers has not changed, like I said, it's exact from same as last year, $104,580. So we actually, with the increase in revenues and a little bit less in spending this year, we reduced what we had planned on taking out of fund balance, about $14,000 less than we planned on for this current year. So everything's looking good. Spending, if we continue to be conservative with our spending, I don't see us taking out much at all, if any, out of the fund balance. The biggest expense we have, obviously, this year is going to be when we have to pay DEC to settle this balance. Once we're past that hurdle, I don't see us, hitting our fund balance, hopefully at all next year. Even though we're predicting this much to come out between stuff we don't spend and extra revenues, I think we'll probably offset. We have done that in the past. So I feel really good about this budget, better than we have in the past. And, we've been doing very well. And this is just another example of another good year planned ahead, I believe. Just to let everybody know, the tax rate per thousand went from 49.77% down to 49.07%. It actually dropped a little bit on your tax rate per thousand just because the taxable value of the town actually went up a little bit. So the actual rate itself went down just a little less than 1%.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when we say we haven't had a tax increase, what we're saying is that we have not collected a more total amount. It's been the same amount over the years, but with the value of the properties increasing, there is actually probably each year you get a little bit of a tax increase.
Possibly, if the value is incorrect, absolutely. So your tax per thousand just went down, just less than 1%, but they go down. So, yeah, it's good news. It's great news. So that's basically the tentative budget in a nutshell.
Oh, what, sorry, but why is our revenues increased? Is there more business?
The sales tax in the county. The sales tax has been the biggest contributor to the increases in revenue. I say just about every meeting I get a chance to please, shop local, sales tax goes to the county, and we get a portion of that. Mortgage tax is looking okay, still, a little bit higher than it was, but the sales tax is the main drive.
We have more businesses here, like the beer people.
It helps a little bit. Obviously, any sales tax they generate, but still, it goes to the county, we get a portion of it.
Right.
It's not a huge difference, but any business absolutely helps offset it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Could this be put on the web so I could print it out?
We'll have copies of the tentative budget available
Yeah.
once we approve it. Sure.
We can put this on as a PDF.
Yeah, you send me the file, I'll put it on the site.
Okay. Okay, so what I'd like to do is,
Actually, when you're talking about the increased sales tax, in the last census, we actually increased in population, which also gave us a bigger share of sales tax.
that is correct.
So not only does that give us more people building houses and making the value of the properties more, so the rate goes down, but we get more sales tax because there's more people in town.
And that's why it's very important for the census, for people to actually fill that out, because, it put us, our population actually exceeded and went above Germantown. So we actually have more population in Germantown, believe it or not. So everybody thinks Germantown's bigger because they have more stuff in it, but we actually have more population and we get a bigger chunk of the sales tax than they do. Very small, we're very close, but yeah, no, absolutely. So it makes sense. So I'd like to have a motion, unless there's further discussion on the tentative budget, I'd like to have a motion to accept the tentative budget.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
I made the motion.
Chris?
Bob.
And we do need to set a public hearing for the budget for next month. We'll do it at our November 6th regular board meeting. Again, 6:45 is a good time for public hearing. So let's notice that 6:45 public hearing on the budget. And we have to make a motion to actually adopt as a preliminary budget as well? I forget.
Next, at the public hearing,
At the public
and then it
hearing?
becomes final,
Okay.
right?
I can't remember. I always thought we did that.
No.
Yeah, I think
After
so.
the public hearing.
I think it goes to preliminary now. I gotta
Well,
check.
it's a preliminary and you have the public hearing on the preliminary, is that? Check it.
I'm sorry, I forget that. I should know this. How many
I
times we've
know,
done
me
this?
too.
How many years?
It's not very clear the way they write it.
I just gotta double check this.
We did this.
Town board reviews tentative budget. Town board reviews tentative budget. Does any modification, approves it with a majority vote. And once town board finishes reviewing tentative budget, it is approved as modified as the preliminary budget. There you go. So,
Which means,
we need to make a motion that this is now the preliminary budget. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
um,
Opposed? Carried. So we'll set that public hearing up for the budget on November 6th, 6:45. I think I remember that.
and that was, who made that motion? Evan and Bob?
Okay, the only other thing, we'll have to, we just Bob touched on earlier, was a discussion on the walk for the community house. So I'd like to just bring that back up on the table for discussion, as far as proceeding with this. If it's something we want to do this year, I would say we probably need to make that decision now, to get it done. And it would also be nice to have it done for the, election day dinner and before the weather turns and it gets all muddy and salt and snow and ice and stuff, so again, let's bring that up and talk about it a little bit. I know there's been some thoughts about possibly some stones, some concrete, some blacktop. We have several different discussions. First thing I'd like to eliminate is any kind of small stone, pea stone, or anything like that, because we don't want something that's trackable, it's gonna be loose and we kick that along, so.
We've had that.
So I think if we're looking for a more permanent solution, I think we need to look at concrete or blacktop, or even like a stone, blue stone, something set. But if we want our highway department to do this, it's something they can do. They could probably be more comfortable working with blacktop and or concrete. So I don't know, let's kick this around a little bit and see, again, do we have a preference on what we'd like to do to have to put in a nice 4-foot walkway from the
It's more like more,
driveway to the stuff.
more in keeping with the historic uh, setting of the building.
I mean, I know we talked about some stone and stuff, you know, like the sim stone, I know Chris might say, but again, it's a,
No, I was just thinking if it were concrete and we had a stone surface within the concrete, whether it be blue stone or even like a creek wash or something, you know, something to make it a stony look, might be better than just concrete, but it's just a thought.
the only concern would be for, I would think it would be for shoveling and snow removal and stuff. I mean,
Right,
better have a
yeah,
smooth
yeah,
surface.
Bob had
But-
mentioned that, and that's a good point, so, yeah, I'm fine with concrete.
All right.
Or blacktop, for
If
that matter.
if on second thought Jimmy thinks there's more problem with concrete and wants to go with blacktop, I mean, I'd be okay with that, but I prefer, I think just for aesthetics as well as utility, concrete would be better.
Okay. We've kind of an agreement on that. I mean, I have no problem with black, or the concrete, I think probably better. What I can do is ask him to give me, get a price together for us. It's just gonna be a small amount because they're gonna do all labor. So it's just gonna be the price of material. So I can't imagine it's even probably gonna exceed $500. So I think we should, just go ahead with that. We can approve under $500 on the spot. So if it's more than that, then we'll have to have a discussion, but I think we can do it.
No, I'm in favor of that. Yeah.
Let's try to see if he's got time to get it done. If he does, that's great. And we'll pay that out of the, if we can't get it out of his account somewhere, we'll take it out of, probably just take that contingent. Should come out of buildings, but we're gonna be a little short on that because of the other stuff we're taking out of there, so we'll take it out of 19.
A little something out of
1990 before. We did. We still have enough to cover that.
Okay.
Motion for that or no?
Yeah, we need a motion to
So
go.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And
Okay.
under 500 or 500?
Yeah, I can approve under $500, so. If it's more than that, we'll have a discussion and go from there. Okay, supervisor report. I don't have a lot to go over this month. I've covered most of the updates on the new business. The county, we had a budget meeting the other day. The budget for the county is looking, well, I said this last year looked good, and they said turn around and raised it again, raised taxes again. So we ended up putting close to $4 million in fund balance last year in the county. And that was my exact argument of why would we raise taxes if we're putting $4 million in the bank. They still would like the balances to be higher to feel more comfortable. I feel plenty comfortable with over $10 million in the bank, but so I don't know exactly what's going to happen this year, but I'm going to be fighting for a 0% increase on county taxes, and if they don't, I'll vote against the budget again, but it doesn't do any good. But I will be fighting for it because the revenues are up, the spending, well, the spending's up with it, but the revenues are exceeding what we budgeted, and we should have plenty of money where we don't have to raise taxes. So that's the biggest thing we're doing with the county right now. Other than that, it's the same minor day-to-day business. The only other thing, the highway department is going out for a bid for additional building. We do need more space for the county highway department. So we are putting out an RFP for design services for a new building to be built on site, but either hooked to the old one or next to the old one. So that's something we will be looking at, which will be a fairly significant capital expenditure, maybe next year, if not down the line. We're not really putting in, I think the design stuff for next year, I don't think it's actually going to be built next year, but it is something we're pursuing.
What, would they rebuild the existing, or?
Minor upgrades to keep it, structural, and they're going to adjust the roof. I'm sorry, adjust the roof. They will still use that building, but they do need additional space, so that's what we're going to be
For
looking
what?
just outgrown the building. I mean, they were working in there for now. It's too small. They don't have the room for the sign shop, the truck repairs, maintenance. It's just really expanded with all the extra work they've taken on and equipment. They did bring up at our roads and bridges meeting about Pleasantville Bridge. That has been thrown into the conversation. I actually asked, I said, we're talking about replacement. That bridge is, I think they're going to consider the next 4 to 5 years full replacement on that bridge. So they're trying to do away with all the steel deck bridges. I don't know if you guys, anybody heard about somebody falling on a bicycle down by that bridge. They were trying to go across it and somebody fell on the bridge. And that's what breached the conversation that was brought to the committee's attention. And I, wanted to know, what was the plans, because we've talked about that in the past, about a replacement. And he said it will be worked into the budget. Like I said, 4 to 5 years full replacement. So they want to do away with, there's only a few left in the county that are open deck metal bridges like that.
And they had that bridge closed down, it was a couple of years ago.
It was a red flag. It's been red flagged a few times. They lowered the weight limit. It's been, having some minor issues. It's time to replace it. So.
What about Buckwheat Bridge?
Buckwheat Bridge. I haven't heard anything about
Oh,
that.
I was just curious where that is in the,
That was on the, I think that was on the 5 to 10 year plan. I haven't heard that one come up. They actually haven't brought that back up.
It's on Mill Road Bridge.
No, road bridge.
Is that steel deck also?
Stick it in the side, right? Thanks, Bob.
Wooden deck bridge.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, I'm not-
At this point, there's been no word on that bridge. So, yeah.
No, I'm not, that's not needle. I appreciate the work you did on trying to get that done in the past.
Let's put it this way, it hasn't been brought up. It will be a conversation I have come next year. I'm really curious to see how the elections turn out, but I'm going to have the conversation that if it's not going to be considered to be reopened, that is actually taken down, because there's no reason to let the bridge sit there. The price of the steel overhead trusses will actually almost pay for somebody to remove it. And, why let something sit there and rot away and fall in the river, Fred Creek? Take it down if you're not going to reopen it. And that's a conversation I think we're gonna actually end up having, because if I can't get any headway going, next year, I think I should push them to the budget to take it down.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, how expensive would it be to put something there so that people could ride a bike or walk over it?
Fairly expensive, probably, I don't know. The county's certainly not gonna want to fund something like that, I don't think, but I can certainly address that.
In a historic area, maybe the county could put up a covered bridge.
Hey,
The force.
or put some money into fixing it up, but, again, it's a hazard right now. I mean, it's failing bridge. I mean, I don't think people should be on that bridge unless it's either fixed up a little bit or taken, so there's no traffic on. So, I mean, it's just a conversation that's coming. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep everybody updated before we make any decisions on that. Other than that, anybody has any business, county business they'd like to talk about, please come see me. I'd be glad to look into or answer anything I can as far as
Is it time for the public to speak?
right after we do
Okay.
motion. We're gonna pay our abstracts. Let's pay our bills first. All right.
Move to pay general abstract number 10A. And there's vouchers number 260 through 279 in the amount of $5,212.69.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'll make a motion to pay trust and agency abstract number 8, vouchers number 25 through 29 in the amount of $931.70.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move we pay highway abstract number 10, vouchers 105 through 112, in a total of $5,810.54.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I make a motion that we pay the prepaid general, which is missing its little added up receipt, so I believe I have the correct number.
At the bottom.
Should I write it on the bottom?
Oh, all right, and it matches, great. I'm looking for the little receipt with the paper clip.
I know, I didn't do one for that one.
Okay, so I make a motion that we pay the prepaid general, number 10, for the amount of $196.57. $196.57.
Motion Bob, second. All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, public comment, public communications.
I
You
have
don't mind just stepping up the podium for us?
Anybody else? Go first. Okay.
First.
I've been doing a lot of work on two things, but I'm going to give each board member this. This has to do with noise. And I have compiled a lot of the regulations from different towns, but Red Hook really fits our community more so than any other one. And why am I suggesting this? It's because we're having more people in our town, we're having events, other people moving in, have small businesses. So this is 12 pages and it's very specific. And if you look on page 36, our regulation is about 2 sentences. And if you look over this, this is very specific. So in other words, I have an event planner who is asked to get permission to have an event there, and that's on Route 6. It's far enough away from me, but it's coming. It's coming. And they have to have rules and regulations as to what they can and can't do. So, but these rules and regulations fit the residential and agricultural nature of our community, whereas Rhinebeck didn't. Germantown's zoning laws are not appropriate. So I want you to take a very good look at this, and I think this is something that we should adopt. And it's going to affect you and me. What affects me is eventually going to affect you. So that's why I'm proposing this. I think it's very important, so you don't have people coming to the ZBA and making complaints, and, you know, we have to have some rules and regulations.
Phyllis, that's a great idea. I mean, it's better to be proactive than reactive, obviously.
Exactly,
And,
exactly.
you know, it's becoming more and more, like you said, more and more business, more and more events being held.
That's right.
It's something we should take a look at updating.
And I think the people on Route 6 are already very anxious about what's going to happen on that particular property,
Mhm.
okay? So if it's going to happen to them, it's going to happen to me.
Okay.
And it could happen to any one of you. So I'd like you to take a very good look at that, and I think it's really excellent. And I've done a lot of work on comparing it to other communities, so you'll have to see for yourself, but I think we should adopt something.
Thank you very much. We will certainly review this, and
Thank
the
you.
next meeting we can discuss it.
And there's one other thing. Evan, you asked me about Clermont Park, if I had seen anybody coming out of there. Yes, I did at 10:30 one night, and something was thrown out of a window, and I didn't really stick around to see what it
Are
was.
you talking the new one
Our
or?
Clermont Park,
Round
yes.
6?
Yes.
Yes.
So what did I do? I went up to Hudson, and I had a meeting with Sergeant Finn on 9/28/17. Why Hudson? Well, they have a large population, they have parks, and they have a lot of interesting, diverse people, and a lot of interesting things going on in that community. And this is what Sergeant Finn suggested for a sign in our park. Well, all athletic events are only allowed with the board approval, or no alcoholic beverages, no music, no ATVs, got that one right, Dawn. No drones. I thought of that, he didn't. And all these rules are subject to, if you don't follow them, are subject to arrest. And he was very firm about this. I said, you know, he said, yeah, you're subject to arrest by the sheriff or the state troopers. That's who really are our law enforcement. So I think there has to be a sign that goes up, not just about swings. Because if you're gonna have soccer there, people are gonna hang out. It's just a natural way of things happening in a park. So in order to protect the community, once again, I was down my road, you know, Moore Road, and this car, you know, followed me and they went off someplace else. But that could affect me. You know, I'm not gonna give them an arrow to go to your house, you know. But I think this is something we should think about. That teenagers are gonna hang out there. You have people from other communities who know that there's a park. So I answered your question. I think last time you said if I had seen it personally, yes. And there was a loud crash that came out of the car. So I wasn't, you know, gonna stick around for that one. But I think that, you know, it's very important what Sergeant Finn said. He just went down the list.
Just a couple.
I was just gonna ask, I know there's a sign over there now that has some rules, but I don't recall what's on there.
That's on the swings.
The rules
Swings.
were put up using the swings.
Okay. I thought
Swings
there was
and no
some-
smoking.
Okay, I thought there was something a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah, there is no smoking laws.
We've talked about it. We have talked about putting up signage, which we were going to do once we develop the but we haven't actually done it yet. We haven't done anything on New Park because we're waiting to get done with DC. We put up, you know.
Yeah,
now we're-
but you know, if you don't do it, then this, you know, it's sort of too flexible.
Mhm.
And people start coming in there and making their own rules. You have a lot of control over what goes on in the park. It could be a community event on that big field, if you're not going to put in the other baseball field. So I really hope that you consider putting up a sign as soon as possible. So once you say, you know, if you don't follow the rules, arrest. You know, their community in Hudson is a little different from ours.
Right.
Okay, so thank you,
We will certainly be looking into the signage. It's gonna.
thank you,
it's
and the
coming.
noise. Thank you.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to light yet. That's a little more difficult.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Sarah?
First of all, thank you for filling that ditch around the field, because I kind of got lost in it, although I knew where it was, but then the grass grew over it, and boom, I ended in it, so that was, thank you. That was
Did they
very-
do a good job on it?
Yes, it's perfect, I mean, it's smooth and, if the grass will grow, it'll be perfect, so thank you. Also, Dawn, thank you for looking into getting grants for, passive use and kind of integrating the pathways that Bob was talking about, and how we envision the park is, beyond the fields of where children can play and so forth. So I think, whatever you need, but again, I also ask for screening again and again, because
And we
it will be
can put
important.
that in this grant,
Yeah.
I did check with that.
And we'll see what Scenic Hudson will bring. And also that plan, if that could be put on the website, I think lots of people would be interested. You will get our fellow Clermontians to be interested in what is envisioned. And I think, people may have some good ideas as well. So, empower us to get involved in something that is at the heart of our community. I think that would be very important. So thank you for all the work you have done, which now seems really difficult to get the DC back to finish, to smooth things out. So,
Well,
more
it's not
power
like
to
they're
you.
going to want to get paid.
I don't know, I guess, as long as you don't have to write that
As
check.
long as we don't pay them, we'll get it done.
We the department get some interest, fine, great. I have a question, and I think it came up during the other meeting on the budget, about the increases in taxes. Some other friends of mine said, hey, my tax bill went up. Now, our taxes in the town did not go up, they actually went down. Something went up, and some got really substantial increases. Do we know already what the reason was for it?
The school tax
Yeah.
for individuals did go up
In the regular school.
because our equalization rate went down.
Okay,
Okay, so that was it. And we talked about not raising town taxes. Unfortunately, town tax is about this much of a total tax bill that's like this, and you know that.
yeah.
And the school tax is the biggest one. The county tax is second. And actually, I think the fire tax is next. And the actual town tax is the smallest of all the taxes. And we've been able to keep that from going up. That's the only one that we have full control of.
Right. And so when they reassess, I mean, were we already reassessed, or was it simply because we went down and the tax went up? The equalization rate went down and the tax went up?
The problem is, the state every year does calculations on the values of the properties, the sales, the purchasing. And last year, we were still at 100%. This year, when they calculated everything, or this past year's sales, whatever it was, they calculated everything. They said, well, the properties didn't add up, they weren't equaling out, so they lowered our evaluation, which is, we went from 100% down to 91%, is what they figured was the accurate number. Unfortunately, that's what throws off the tax dollars, because when Red Oak School District keeps, if they stayed at 100%, which they did, for some reason they didn't move, their sales are closer, they stayed 100%, then they have to make up the extra 9% on the surrounding districts that pay into the same schools. So as soon as we found this out, we talked to our assessor. We said, listen, we can't have this, we gotta be at 100%. And we actually included in the tentative budget a small amount of extra money for her to do the reevaluation to bring us back up to 100%. And that will be done for the next tax season, but this round, which we were unaware of, couldn't do anything about, was valued at 91%. So by next year, it'll be back to 100.
Right, so the people
Square
will be
away.
happy.
Unfortunately, there's
For a couple
nothing we
years.
can do about this year, and you're not going to be happy about the little bit of increase, which, some of it was
Some of them were
substantial.
substantial, I mean, they were shocked, I mean, it was enough to trigger, as they got it. Usually you just get it in just, a couple bucks, but this time was really
Yeah.
substantial amounts that they were like shocked.
And we had that problem several years back before we redid the reevaluation to get it squared away. We've been at 100% for, I think, 4 or 5 years now straight. But before that, we were low, and there was a different offset in taxes, and people came in and complained a lot, and that's when we took care of it, obviously, and we're certainly going to take care of this as soon as we possibly can, which will be the next tax roll.
Yeah, thank you. So if you put this up online right away, next couple of days, people have the answer. They'll be very happy because it's something they really wanted to know. So thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? No, good. Okay, if we have no other comment, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn, but first, I'd also like to observe a moment of silence for the despicable acts that happened in Las Vegas, that I think we're all aware of on the news. I would like to observe a moment of silence before we adjourn the meeting. So if we could, take a moment of silence, then adjourn the meeting. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Well, there's a
Favor?
vote, okay.
Thank you.
Right?